And welcome everybody to General Zod's Fandom Zone for another intellectual night of great stimulating talk and friendship and community safe spaces. Nah, I'm just messing with you guys. We're going to be having uh, another great discussion as we always do here, waiting for the regular uh, Phantom Zone crew to come in. But in the meantime, I'm gonna hang out with you guys in the chat. We're gonna be a little bit lively tonight, and oh, I was going through my topics, and I'm like, what to talk about? What's current? What's hot and what's trending? So everybody else, everybody else's channel has been doing the whole Star Wars thing, the whole talking about episode 9. So I was like, I guess I'll make PB happy after he gets done shoveling or snow blowing or whatever it is he's doing. And we're going to talk about Star Wars. I want to hit it from a different perspective. I got a couple of articles about the different comments and things that have been said. But then, you know, let's more do some speculation tonight. And chat, you're more than welcome to be included in this theory. Now, let's just start with a recap. We've come off of having the worst movie in, I'm just going to say, in franchise history, because I can't think of another franchise, including Godfather, that ever messed up their trilogy so irrecoverably as Star Wars did. But here we are. So we have the franchise of Star Wars coming out, and there's been rumors and speculations and leaks and cast members coming out. And it's funny because the only thing that I can do in comparison and in relation to the big epic fuck up that is this trilogy is compare it to Game of Thrones and the way that they botched season 8. And it's funny, the more I read these articles and the more that I talk about this, and Perp, if you want to get in the conversation, jump in the back room. The link is in the Phantom Zone chat. Anyways, uh, you know, it's like there'll be some people who will be happy with this, possibly. Um, but look, I'm gonna attack this from a different way. There's going to be the normal channels that are going to have their different spin and different take on it, but I really want to come at an optimistic view, being the eternal optimist that I am. And I'm hoping that maybe, at the very least, to have something enjoyable. I mean, right now, nothing could really be as bad as Batwoman. After watching as many shows as I have, ugh, that show. Ugh. I started watching through those episodes, and really, if you guys want the experience of slow water torture, put on an episode of Batwoman. And yeah, you have any people you want to interrogate, just tie them up, put them in your basement, and put on an episode of the CW's Batwoman. And I guarantee you, in the middle of episode 1, they will tell you anything that you want to know. What's up, Bear Bear Nerd Fun? What's up, Cybernetic Husky? What's up, Tommy, the awesome mod? And I know PB's lurking in the chat. We got Perp Minded. Welcome all to a episode of Late Night Talks. Kind of starting solo because before we get our panelists on here and before we really start talking about this, I want to hear from you guys, and I want to kind of kick back some feelings that I have regarding this movie. I don't want to hate this movie because I feel like I would fall into that popular group of wanting to hate this movie. I think that the problem that you're going to have is that when a film so disappoints so many people and makes so many missteps, that as a critic or as a human being, you can't help but to go into it. What's up?
You're
I was saying, oh, you are going solo again. No shocker there. Good. So, um, Perk, I'm actually taking maybe even your stance on this. I was saying, uh, I don't want to go into this movie wanting it with the mindset of hating it. You know what I mean? I did the same thing for Knives Out, and I know everybody raved about it. I personally didn't like it. It had nothing to do with the fact that it was Ryan Johnson. Me and Bitchy Unicorn both agreed. I don't like solving a movie in the middle of the movie, but I still gave it a decent score because of the fact, based upon the quality of the film, right? And I don't want to be one of these people because we're going to have enough of them that's going to hate on this film and not give it a chance just because of what Last Jedi has
and
done
also
with the franchise.
you'll have people that already hate the movie to go see the movie to hate it even more. Those people are
Yeah, and I don't
ridiculous.
look this, and I agree with you on that point. I don't think as critics, okay, when shills go into the theater, your John Campias, your IGN Collider, they're going to go in with the mindset that this is the greatest thing. So when you go and look at their channels, even if objectively there's bad things about this film, you're not going to hear about them because they're going in with the mindset that already this is the greatest movie ever. I mean, we sat back and we saw Collider's big reveal. Everyone who was on this channel, you saw us on the Great Shilling. You saw
Hmm.
us watch the Rule of Two
But
do their reaction, and Perp, you have to admit that was so phony.
yeah, but it's like I say with like time and time again with Star Wars movies, there's things to like and things to not like in each movie. Like I'll go down the line, right? Episode one, skip everything and just give me Darth Maul, whereas Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. That's the best part of that movie. Everything else is trash.
Come on, pod
Attack of
racing.
I don't care about that. That's for really for I forgot that was even in there. Um, episode two, completely a movie full of filler. You know, it's cool. Yeah, you have all these Jedi's flying around. Like, no, Dooku was not that dude. Like, no, trash. Um, going into episode three now. This was the better one out of the three prequel movies. You got, I like that. I liked it for the most part. I don't necessarily like what they did with just how Anakin became Vader. Me personally, you know, I could see what they were trying to do with that, but just I didn't personally feel it. But it's whatever. Going into the original trilogy, I just think A New Hope is boring. That's just my opinion. You got one lightsaber fight, and it's with two 90-year-old men. Um, Then you get Empire Strikes Back, and Empire Strikes Back kind of still holds up, but after I went back and rewatched it, it just I don't know, uh, and just there's like pretty much my point is there's stuff to not like about each one of these Star Wars movies, and you know,
Yeah, and I do agree with you. And the nostalgia argument has been used in both, but objectively, even with the originals, it's nostalgia that drives the feeling of how people feel about those. But don't get it confused, too, though. The older ones, you can see the passion behind the story writing. And I maintain that CGI has destroyed the movie experience when not used well. And you can really see that in the prequels with the writing and how the writing had suffered due to the fact of the technology. And I think it's that syndrome that a lot of directors get where it's like a kid in a candy store and you're like, well, why do I need a plot point where I can bam explosion? I mean, perfect example of this, Michael Bay. Can anyone tell me if there is a freaking story in his movies? Now, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge Transformers fan. I love the first two, maybe three,
Two's the
but I
worst one.
mean, but the first one was where it was at. But when you really
Yeah.
break that down into the essence of the movie, really, what is it? It's a bunch of explosions and giant robots fighting. And if you take those out, it is the question of what makes a good film, right? If you take those
Yeah.
out, it has no substance or weight in it. Now, if you do the inverse to an old Star Wars, whether or not you find it boring, the exposition and the stuff that they set up is the basis of story writing. And I think that's where you
Hmm.
get the fan base for it is the fact of laying groundwork of an intriguing tale. And like you said, even if you find the first one boring or whatever else, there's still things to pick out of the movie. And I feel like Disney has lost that. And I know Perp, you're an avid defender of Last Jedi, but let's be real. Did you really need the Canto Bite scene? Do you not feel that that
I
detracts a
mean,
good
like I said,
half hour of the movie?
like I said, each Star Wars movie's got that weird ass, oh, we gotta go check out this planet, or like we gotta spend time on this planet. I feel like that was Star Wars, we always gotta see a planet or just a little subplot or a filler within the movie that doesn't have anything to do with anything. So it didn't really bother me. People just really blow that up to like, it's whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, just taking the agenda-driven, clear narrative of what they're trying to say there that doesn't even fit into the movie as a whole. And I've said my dislike for Last Jedi has nothing to do with even destroying legacy characters. But don't get me wrong, I still feel the same way about that. I want to look at it from a story perspective, and from a story standpoint, it's very disjointed. It's very uneven, and you can see the switch between two writers doing something completely different. And this is where the problems come in because
Did,
narratively, you've created a clusterfuck.
did you
And
see that? Did you see that clip that was released today?
no, I haven't.
Where it's a scene where Kylo actually meets Palpatine. You don't see Palpatine, you just hear his voice. He said something very interesting that I had a feeling that it kind of ties everything together, what they were going for. And like I was going back and watching like old scenes from, not old scenes, but recent scenes from like Force Awakens and just stuff with Snoke and stuff, and it's interesting. But you know,
But see, this is why it's good. And like we had our discussion yesterday of having a healthy debate and really breaking things down. Um, like you said, when you make your points about the things that you like about the film,
and,
and
and
we, you're right. There is unevenness in everything, and it's more of the question of not whether or not there's things you can pick out to like or dislike. The bigger question is going to be, it is a trilogy. This is different than doing a one-off film. It's story flow, and
and, and,
that's
and
where the problem is.
let me reiterate what I liked about that movie. Like I like what they did with Kylo, Rey, and Luke. That's how I've always been with with these Star Wars movies. Like you take the original trilogy, I only care about what's going on with Luke,
Which is
Vader,
fair.
and
Vader,
the
of course.
Emperor, and Han Solo. Everybody else is irrelevant to me. Like like
and,
it's not about them.
and you see, you had a good point there, but see, the difference between the original movies and the movies we got today is that you could have someone out there going, well, I didn't care much for Luke or Darth Vader, but Han Solo, and Princess Leia and their wacky shenanigans, or me myself, fuck Han. Lando was where it was at for me. But I
Landon's a
mean,
snitch.
you know what?
I'll,
You know what?
I'll
I
never like.
defend
I,
Lando.
nah, you can't defend the snitch, man. No, that's bro code number one. You never snitch on your homie. Like, no, that's fuck. If it would be me, this is why I would like to reboot this because like I would have had it like, oh, have Han just kill Lando. Like you did me dirty. You threw me under the bus. You almost got me killed. That's what I say. That's unforgivable.
That's a that's a that's a very interesting take. That you do a director's cut, or yeah, like you said, reboot it. Oh God, but can you imagine rebooting it now? They'd have Lando and Han as females. But it's like this is the thing that I feel with these movies is the battle of identity politics versus story has been a real issue with this new franchise. And now it's even more interesting
I keep
because
I keep hearing that term identity politics. Like I could kind of put it together in my head, but can you give me like a clear, like short, brief definition? Or
identity
anyone
politics. Identity politics are when they're using all of those buzzwords, or they're forcing in diversity where it doesn't need to be, or like throwing in a character just for the sake of making a statement. Like the Canto Bite scene is a perfect example of identity politics. It's a bunch of rich, I assume, white people on this planet gambling and keeping people as slaves, and you can even throw in
but
something about animal cruelty with those
but isn't
horse
that
people.
not real life?
I mean, yes, to an extent, but it's not having it in the movie that's the issue. It's the fact that instead of doing what some good filmmakers will do and they'll slide it in there cleverly,
Mm.
right? Or they'll have discreet messaging. It's like using a sledgehammer to beat someone over the head with a message. It's like, oh yeah, look at these rich white people. They're evil, and white people are evil, and all they do is all white males
I
do is
don't necessarily
degrade women.
say like the Canto Bite. I don't necessarily say it's like white people are evil. Like rich people are fucking sick and they are weirdos. Like that's something that people aren't keen to or just what I'm saying. It's just I don't see it as like a huge. For me, like when I'm watching Force Awakens or I'm watching Last Jedi, I don't even like look for those things. I don't know how people just see those things and just automatically just say it's this and that. And that's just me
So
personally.
hold on. I'm gonna try to switch between my apps because Tommy sent a link. Can you still
Fine.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to switch in between my phone to go to the YouTube. Uh, and then I can click on that link because this thing is so weird when I'm doing my thing here. Let's see. But yeah, let's okay, pause myself because that sounds weird to hear myself talk. Okay, so the Webster Dictionary term of identity politics is politics in which groups of people having particular racial, religious, ethnic, social, or cultural identity tend to promote their own specific interests or concerns without the regard to the interests or concerns of any larger political group. So it's it's holding up one group above the other, right? You know, you're promoting your own sort of view. Like it's like uh it's like if you were to take for instance, Mark Ruffalo has very weird left leaning type of views, right? And from out of
Hmm.
nowhere, you're watching a Marvel movie, and he has some kind of influence, talks to the director, and they put some outlandish scene that has to do with a political ideology that doesn't fit within the context of the story, that type of stuff. And in Star Wars, they have had this thing of pushing these weird views about particular individuals and groups. Like, look at Finn. Really, now at this point, what is the point of Finn? And you, LB,
I,
we've all had this discussion.
yeah, I
He serves
agree
no
with him, but
purpose.
I agree with him. But that's just what they do with all black characters. The only black character was decent was Mace, but look how they trashed his character. You know what I'm saying? Like they could have done something better with his character. He didn't have to go out like that. But it is what it is.
Yes, that's true. But at the same time, you have Mace Windu's scenes from Clone Wars and things like that, which was popular amongst a lot of people. So he still got accurate play. And that battle scene between him and the Emperor was pretty epic. I mean, if you really think about it, he won that fight. And then you had little bitchy Anakin, I like to call him pre-Vader, uh, you know, just
The
be
the
like, "I'm
plot
gonna kill him."
the plot was not on the black man's side.
And
No.
they're like, "Nope, you got to go out the window."
And it's the same thing with like with Yoda. It's just like, the ending when I rewatched it, I was like, yo, he had the fucking Emperor beat. He just fell down. And he was just like, no, I can't fight no more. Like, what? Come on, bro. That's weak.
Well, I mean, come on, man. Yoda's at like a 300 now at that time point
He
in the
he was
galaxy.
I don't mean nothing. Look, and that's why I kind of give I could kind of give Mace a pass because at least he went out fighting. He
Yeah,
was
that's
willing to
true. I
do quite a
mean,
bit.
he was completely like I will agree with you on that point. He was completely taken by surprise because the whole cut off the hands thing and throw him out the window, which is another thing too, is like we have no body limbs lost in any of these new ones. Like I always feel like in a lightsaber battle, it
Mhm.
heightens how dangerous it is when you got people losing limbs.
I mean, Finn got pretty fucked up at the end. And every time I look at that, I'm like, yo, this dude Kylo could have eat like people want to bring up the that first fight with uh Kylo versus Rey, but like Kylo could have easily won that. Even with his injury, he fucked up by trying to recruit her. It was like, this not the time, bro.
Tommy brings up a good point that I didn't think of in the movies. He did it to draw Anakin in when he was losing to Mace Windu. Yeah, that's definitely that plays into his whole scheme. He wanted to say, "Hey, the Jedi deformed me, and they're trying to take over." Yeah, it was all part of the plan. Now, here's the problem I have talking about Episode 9. I feel like
Mm.
if they do this thing with the Emperor, it invalidates a lot of story already pre-established, and I think this is
I'm
some very valid complaints. Is that going a different direction is fine, but toying around and taking away arcs from people that were already pre-established or retconning things is a way that you
I,
destroy past achievements.
I would have to
It's
disagree because, like I said, that clip that they put out, or if it leaked or whatever the fuck, I wish I didn't watch it honestly, but it just and it kind of just brings everything to full circle. How Palpatine has stated how he's able to, he's learned from what Plagueis how to cheat death. So
yeah, I
it,
mean, but the I guess on the one side you can argue he already knew how to do that, but then uh, when you get to Revenge of the Sith, it seemed as if he just used that as a way to manipulate um,
and
Anakin as opposed to actually knowing.
that's the key word too. And it's like if that I gotta see that whole scene play out because that clip just brings a lot more things into perspective. It might not change people's feelings about the Last Jedi and the whole trilogy overall, but it makes sense because just you know why Kylo turned dark or why like Luke dipped out and just certain questions. Like, you want me to just tell you what the scene said?
Yeah, sure. Oh,
So
hold on. Spoiler alert for anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled and blah blah blah. But if you're here, you probably
I
don't
mean,
care.
everybody out here spoiling shit anyway, so it doesn't even matter. I'm already mad about that. It don't matter. Like, so pretty much, Kylo goes to confront Palpatine, and you hear him talk, and he's like, "My boy, I've been every single voice in your head," and it just cuts off. And you just like you hear Snoke's voice and you hear Vader's voice and stuff. He's like, "I've been in your head this whole time," pretty much.
Don't worry, Cybernetic Husky. Even though Joker's one of the greatest movies made this year, no, we're not going to be spoiling it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just like I fall into
And
that
also,
group too, where I feel like everything that's going to be thrown at me just seems like a
mhm,
band-aid patch up things that have already been wrecked. I don't want to feel that way, but it's like that seems like a very weak exposition to explain away how someone who's supposedly dead comes back to life and how to explain the things going on with
but
Kylo.
that's but that's why I said that. It's just like, what was the point of like Palpatine telling Anakin like about his about Plagueis and stuff, saying like, oh, like if they weren't going to bring that up again sometime down the line.
That's true, but if that's the case, then that seems like they would, because they did say during one of the rewrites, George Lucas came in to pitch some ideas too, where he had helped write stuff. So if there is a connection like that, or a connection that makes sense, then that would be something that George would throw in there because he made the prequels. I don't believe JJ is capable of drawing from that. I don't even think he really has uh, an idea of can it, I mean, and I'm basing this off. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, but
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily hate what he did in those movies. I know people are gonna berate me, miss, but
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
just gonna
not.
be honest.
Yeah.
I thought they were decent. But one thing he did with Star Trek is the same thing that I see him doing here is that he disregarded a lot of uh, story to kind of make up his own thing. That's fine if you're not doing a franchise. But if you have a franchise that you know is going to have an avid fan base that people speak Klingon for crying out loud, I mean, you
Mhm.
got that kind of following,
Right.
you know, you got to stick to the
And
material. And if you can't
like
be held in that box, you got to do something else.
like I understand people are upset about the changes. I get upset with certain like take Dragon Ball for example. Yes, I know I'm bringing up anime, but it's like the best example I can make. You know, Dragon Ball Z ended pretty much on a high note. Then Super comes in, and it doesn't really make because Super is pretty much it takes place in that 10-year gap of where they ended off at the end of Z. So like all that whole 10 years is pretty much just Super. So it kind of doesn't make sense, and they retconned a lot of different things in there too. Which like I don't really, it doesn't really bother me though. It's just that's what they're gonna do. That's what most studios are gonna do just to refresh things. But I understand people getting mad and upset about shit.
And
But
see,
then
that's the thing that you know, I know that you put out a lot of posts about Ray and things like that, but at least we can talk about it logically because and that's the thing too. There's another component to this. There's another outside factor that is the root cause to why there's so much pushback. And here's the one
mm,
thing, the one simple thing that could have fixed everything, perp, or at least eased people a little bit, is that the studio blamed the fans. Now, no matter if you like the movie or not, one thing you have to admit is that you can't come out and make something that's divisive and then attack people for honestly
well,
saying they didn't like your product.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Okay, so Yeah, I agree with that. You shouldn't come at the fans, but at the end of the day, you can't also tell what these studios to do because they already have something planned out. They're gonna do what the fuck they want to do at the end of the day. And sometimes listening to fans can also just hurt your movie too. Because say if they, because then they're going to start scrambling around for different things. They might have had something set, and now it's like, oh, we got this backlash. Oh, we got to change this, and you end up with a worse product. So it's kind of like a double edged sword at the same time. But I understand, like, yeah, you shouldn't come at the fans like that, or
I, I mean, but there's a way. There's a way you can
mm,
go on an interview and you could say, look, I understand some people don't like this, and I'm sorry if you don't like it, but this was just my vision that I had. Maybe it wasn't what you expected, but that's just how I saw it. And, I'm sorry you didn't like the movie, whatever else, and then move on. And that would have been fine. But the fact that the studio was okay with a filmmaker coming out and, you know, attacking a sect group of fans, and then you had fans of the film attacking people who didn't like the film. It was a whole big mess. And I think a lot of
I
the
feel like
saltiness
everybody
comes from that too.
I feel like everybody was out of pocket, like just because Disney comes out and calls you a man, like, or Ryan Johnson comes out and calls you a man baby, doesn't mean you should come out here and do the same thing. Be a you gotta be the bigger person. Be respectful about it. But like, you know, I just think the whole thing has gotten blown out of proportion. And just both sides are fucked up for just like each one, like you saying this about this and saying about this person or this director, that's not going to help your cause. You just calling the people at Disney like all these types of names like Jar Jar Abrams and stuff. That's not going to do nothing. Like that's whack. Like the whole situation is whack to me.
Yeah, and when you really look at it, this film has had issues from the beginning, but this isn't the first product we've seen where it doesn't get off the ground or it creates such animosity that it backfires on them. And I mean,
Mm,
the exception to the rule is always going to be Captain Marvel because uh, of great marketing, I maintain. I mean, but if that marketing wasn't as good as it was, then who knows what those numbers would have actually turned out to be. Like if they knew the truth about how that connected midway into Endgame. Even the end credit scene didn't even appear in the movie. So I mean, clever marketing can save you, and that's the difference between Star Wars and Marvel and the way other people are marketing their stuff at times is that you gotta you gotta know how to you know you gotta know how to
mm,
maneuver the press circuit. And perp, you have to admit, like you can see differences between how each brand maneuvers their press circuit.
yeah,
It's like night and day. And you know, make no mistake, press is just as important as the movie itself. Press
yeah,
can easily make or break your film. I mean, look at Charlie's Angels. That was only $45 million budget. That's
mm,
the I think it's like 50 or 60 million after marketing. And Elizabeth Banks, ugh, she did most of the marketing out of pocket. So you can even deduct some of it because it wasn't even studio push, right? And still, that
right.
movie failed. Why? Because marketing was uninteresting. Now, with Star Wars, you don't have that because one thing these directors have in common is they can make beautiful visuals. But I
Mm.
mean, look at the trailers and things like that. Come on, that
I
the
mean,
last trailer we got is pretty uninteresting, or that the second one in between, whatever one that came before this last one was
I think
such a boring trailer.
I think a part of that has to do with just people in general, probably because they just killed their own hype. Like me, it's nothing different from what they did from The Last Jedi or Force Awakens. Like in those trailers, they didn't show much. We didn't see much of the movie in those trailers either. So, you know,
Yeah, but if you
I
take a
would say
look
the
at those
first.
trailers compared to these ones, even Last
I
Jedi,
I would
still
say
more exciting.
I would say though, like Force Awakens, like the first teaser trailer, that was the best one out of the three. Cause like that's the first time, like, all right, we have no idea what's going on. There's a dude with a lightsaber and all this shit and blah blah blah. But it is what it is. I didn't dislike the trailers. I don't hate the trailers. I didn't think they were like mind blowing. I was just like, oh, cool trailer. Give me the movie.
Yeah, I mean, see, you've been waiting for it,
Yeah.
unlike most people, and been keeping yourself in a space where you're just like, yeah, I want to see the film. But for let's just take us who YouTube out of it, right? Just take
Mhm.
anyone who YouTube's out of it and is on the inside track, because sometimes that too will put us in a salty spot because we follow the interviews and the press tours and things like that and all of the articles. If you take us out of it and you just think of it from a perspective of a normal moviegoer, I've even heard people in my theaters when the trailers come on go, or stuff like that. And I've heard some people, go, yeah, that looks interesting, but it's not a big, like, wow, I can't wait for that to come out. And,
And I
if you
just
were to
and I
rewind the
think
clock, you wouldn't have had that response for a Star Wars film.
and I think it just has to do with the climate that we're living, like if that we're in right now. Like we're just so spoiled with shit. Like people, it's gotten to the point where we just like go off the rails just with trailers about even just seeing the movies or just you know. But it's a mixture. It's a mixture of things because like maybe just people don't care about Star Wars just like that, and they want to see and because kids nowadays they want to watch more comic book movies and stuff, and maybe that has something to do with it, and they look at a Star Wars, they're like that looks all right, and I'm not really too into it, and I just feel like it's based on the climate that we're living in right now. It's just, but who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the climate has a lot to do with it. The different options and things you have. But it's kind of funny because now you have the Mandalorian, where I've seen so many tweets like, "Oh, the new episode is coming out. Let's see how they do, if it picks up, things like that." But
Yeah.
there's a genuine, like, wonderment, that sense of, like, oh, I can't wait, right? That's why tonight I'm gonna cut this short because I gotta watch my Mandalorian. But you have things like that, right? We had LB skating out of here going, yeah, Mandalorian, and then we all cut that. Be sure. You don't have that. Like, if someone was to tell me, Force Awakens, or I'm sorry, Rise of Skywalker just got dropped tonight, I'd be like, okay, I'll catch it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
But I
you
guess,
don't have the same hype. The hype isn't built very well. It's just
but I guess
all
I can
discord.
I guess I could see like how some people aren't hyped because I'll make another comparison like Game of Thrones. I'll never understand the hype about that show. To me personally, just because I've watched so many different shows and stuff, like it got some cool moments and stuff, but like I don't get the hype. So I'm guessing that's how certain people that are like fans of certain movies or certain franchises and stuff look at these movies and you know um it's just people have different tastes and things, but you make a good point though.
And by the way, the chat is loving the conversation right now. Apparently, we got a good back and forth going. And folks, this is what it's all about. We can have two people from opposite ends of the spectrum, and you just sit down and talk about it. And this is the kind of Star Wars talk that I wanted to have. And I know PB is going to jump in and do some funny retort, but I mean, this is what the discussion should be about. And I'm going to tell you right now. I was talking to Chris Knight earlier, and I'm like, yeah, I got to do a Star Wars stream. It's been like a dread of mine to do one of these streams just talking about episode 9, because it's like, Perp, I know LB knows. We've all talked about this before. The videos are going to be nonstop. We're going to hear about this like
That that's what
forever.
that's another that's another thing. It's just like all these people saying like Star Wars is dead or boycott Star Wars or I don't really like Disney Star Wars, but you're watching The Mandalorian and you're going to watch the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And
Oh yeah,
it's just a lot of hypocrisy, like it's just like either choose one side, or just don't talk about it. It's just because after episode 9, I'm either if I like it or don't like it, what I'm going to do. If I don't like it, or if it just either if I like it or don't like it, I'm moving on to the next thing. Like Star Wars ain't my life.
exactly.
There's so
I
there's so much.
understand as a
Go ahead.
fan of shows, I understand when a show gets destroyed. You've seen how many times we talked about Game of Thrones, right? But that was
Mm,
like, you don't understand, but from people who are fans of that world and come from that world and have been following it since like season one, right? And
yeah.
making it a ritual, I can understand that mindset of like, this goes deep. This is like good memories, hanging out with friends, popping in a movie and watching it. Like, it's the attachment that gets people so fixated on it. But it's like you said, Perp, there's so many other great things that are coming out that I feel like
Like,
sometimes we don't always need to do the coverage on one particular thing. And you've been on my channel enough, we've talked enough, and
yeah.
I've never been aboard the boycotting something or doing something because in at the end of the day, we don't have enough influence to make that real, and you just got to put it into the average moviegoer. The box
Mm,
office will speak, and if this does well, which people, don't kid yourself, this movie's going to do well. I mean, I'm already sold. We got three big theaters here: the Majestic, the Movie Tavern, and the one I work at. And what happens is if the Majestic and the Movie Tavern sell out, we get the overflow. And right now we got so many pre-orders. The two
so it's
big
like,
cinemas are sold out for the first 2 days. I
yeah,
mean, it
I got
it's real hype.
I got like 5 shows at my theater. It's not huge. It's not a huge theater. It's got like 8 theaters. So it's like they got 5 different showings. The only one that's not, I gotta go double check it again. The only one that's like probably not all the way sold out is the one at like 1:15. So I don't expect that to be sold out because a lot of people are not gonna go see a movie at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
And
And
just really
Endgame was
quickly, I'll see
different.
you later, Cybernetic Husky. You,
See you
you
later,
have a
man.
good one.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's the thing too. Like, some people, there are still some people out there that don't like go online and buy tickets. Surprisingly, I'm shocked at that. I'm like, you should definitely be buying your tickets online nowadays. But some people just go up in there and buy a ticket. I see it like a lot of, and like 'cause a lot of my friends, they don't keep up with the shits and keep up with like how movies are, how theaters work and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think, and I've been saying this recently too. Um, you and me do reviews on shows and on movies, and I think that at some times, and I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you, but at some times you can ruin the experience of a show or a movie because we're so critical because we have to be, because we have an audience watching our channel and we want to give them the
Hmm.
facts. So we're looking at these things differently than, like you said, the normal Joe Blow who's like, I just want to see an action movie.
Yeah,
We're sitting here breaking it down. We know we're going to be on channels. We know we're going to be talking about this. So when you come from that objective lens, you're looking at the world of entertainment much differently than the normal person who's just going to pay their $5 or the $10 and you know probably forget about it when the next hot movie comes out.
yeah. Like I said, like once Star Wars is done, like I'm getting ready for Power. These last 5 episodes gonna be crazy. That's gonna be the next thing I'm talking about. Like, but
Oh yeah,
and then
man, we still gotta have our power discussion.
yeah, like that. That's just gonna be crazy. There's just a ton of shit that's coming out next year that I'm excited for. And it's just me. I've always gone to see movies either that Thursday night or Friday at midnight or whatever the fuck. Because I love movies. I'll never not be excited to go see a movie, even if it's a movie that I'm like iffy about. I still get excited because I love movies. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a great perspective to have. I know Terrence is the same way. That
Mhm.
dude sees everything, but he's got that same mindset. Like he's excited about the whole feel of it. So, this is all about Star Wars tonight, and we've gotten a little bit into the history and things like that. So let's tackle the big thing that everybody's talking about with the bounding in comics and everything else like that. Let's talk about the cast coming out and having some pretty strong feelings. Now, I went over these articles and I looked at them, and the cast is very tactful about their use of words, but you
Mm.
could see there's some hurt feelings there. We'll kind of go down the line, and let's start with John Boyega. What's your opinion about, like, I know you've seen like the articles and things like that. What's your opinion about his stance? Do you
Uh,
think he's salty with the
I mean,
character?
I haven't even looked into that because, like I said, I don't really want to look at that stuff. Like, I'll probably look at that stuff after the movie to see how people feel, but like, I'm not trying to go into a movie with any type of negativity or anything like that. But
So,
if you could just give me
to
like a brief,
paraphrase,
yeah,
he didn't openly, like, people are making it like he openly came out and was disappointed, but it's very dodging in his own wording. But it's more of a he's talking about the lack of progression with his character, and he doesn't
I agree.
know. Yeah, which is true, and he doesn't know how they're going to build this dynamic in the Rise of Skywalker when you should have had 3 movies of building a bond that we can believe in and things like that. And now when you look at Force Awakens, they all come together, right? But it's all like briefly done. And then
Yeah,
Last Jedi, they're immediately separated, and you only have him and Kelly Marine Tran, and then you have the other people doing their other thing. But the group is splintered, and so it's very hard when you have them basically separate or meeting up in the beginning of the movie to form any kind of bond or to buy a strong bond in a third film. And I want to know, how do you think this will play out in the movie? Do you think that in one movie they can sell you on this great group dynamic? Are you just kind of going to
I
bypass it? Or
I mean, based off the trailers, it looks like they're going to be together for the most part, and then Ray's gonna probably pretty much just go off and do what she gotta do. So.
but do you think that you can make that emotional connection? Like, let's just throw out a scenario like John Boyega dies, and I forget who plays Poe Dameron, but he's sitting there holding them in, like, let's say a Tony Stark and Spider-Man kind of scene. Like, you could buy
I
that bond
mean,
because how it
like
was
I
established.
like I said, like I'm only focusing on like certain characters. So like if Finn were to die, oh well. If Poe were to die, I mean, I like Poe. I think his character's pretty cool. He's just a pilot. And he's kind of reckless, a little reckless. Um, I get, I feel like the only person the only people that I would be like emotionally attached to, or I want to use that phrase, emotionally attached, or it just I'd feel some type of way if something happened to him. It definitely would be Kylo, Ray, obviously. I don't, I that's a hard question to answer, but
I'm trying to do
But
something.
and that's the thing. Like that's the I think that's what's cool about it. Is like we don't know what to expect in this movie. We have no idea.
Yeah, and see, it's interesting to get your perspective where you're like coming at it from. Yeah, we don't know what to expect. Anything could happen. And then like my perspective, oh, we don't know what to expect. I have no clue where this is gonna go. I hope it's
That's
not
what I say. Like
stupid.
that's what I was like. That's what I say. If you're that type of person that just didn't like any of these movies, you're not gonna like this movie. Period.
And see, here's the thing: I liked, and I think even a large group of the other YouTubers we follow, we like
Mm.
Force Awakens. The but in the context of the story, when you play Slash Jedi in it, it doesn't fit, and that is what brings down what should have been a
And
chance to build these relationships.
see now that's debatable because people don't like the Last Jedi maybe because just it wasn't the story that they wanted, but I understood what they're going for, and it does connect it to. It does feel odd because it's like it goes in a completely different direction. But depending on where they go with this last one, I think it's the last one will be able to tie those two movies together um, well enough for people to be like, all right, this wasn't the best trilogy, but at least they finished like somewhat decent. But like I said, if you didn't if you didn't like the Last Jedi, you're not gonna like this one. If you didn't like the whole trilogy, the whole Disney trilogy so far, or whatever, you're not gonna like this movie. So it's like there's some people out there that don't like uh The Force Awakens, and I realize why people like The Force Awakens because they played it safe with that. They pretty much redid A New Hope. That's essentially what they did there. But
Yeah,
it's whatever.
yeah, and I think that is uh, part of the nostalgia factor, and it also piqued curiosity and things like that. And it would have been interesting to see one director just doing one solid story. And that's the thing that has hindered these relationships is we don't know what ideas were going to be in place from one to the other. And like you said, it's very weird. The it's a very weird middle piece. So I mean that hurts their things. And I wanted to talk about Kelly Marie Tran. Like, out of everyone in this cast, I feel bad for her because the thing is, out of everyone who's had some kind of opinion or has said something about fans, she's never really said anything. And I feel bad that, like, because of how her character was written, there's been such a backlash on it. And it's I had an article about how she's had to undergo therapy because of the attacks that she's
That's crazy.
received, which is crazy because now I know what people are going to say. Oh my God, therapy! They're just milking the sympathy. But think about Jar Jar Binks and the hatred he had. That dude was messed up, and he never said anything, never came out. But then they did like an article looking back, and dude, man, when you hear about how he was like so depressed and thought about killing himself and stuff, you know, these people are
And,
actors at the end of the day. And whether or not you
mhm.
don't like the character, it's not a
and,
reflection on a person. What is a reflection on the person is what they say. And to
and
my knowledge, I've never heard her say anything, and she seems like a pretty nice person in real life. And, you
yeah,
know,
and that's why I said like people need to chill out, man. Like this shit is just a movie. Like it's not like your everyday life. It's just like it's like take Dragon Ball Evolution. I didn't watch that movie. I refuse
oh
to
God,
even
I
talk
did.
about that. I refuse to even talk about that movie. But you don't see me saying like, "Oh man, we should go hunt this dude down and go kill him and stab him up real good and shit." No, I'm not gonna do that. Like, if you make a bad movie, movies are always subjective. Like, I feel like everybody is expecting masterpieces nowadays. Like they want every movie to be like perfect, damn near perfect and stuff. And it's just not it's not gonna happen that way. And and I always give, even if actors put on actors or actresses put on a bad performance, I don't hold them against it. I'll be like, yeah, that was trash, but I'm not gonna sit there and be like, keep going with it because you don't know how these people are in real life. You know, actors, that goes for anybody in entertainment, from like actors, rappers, and just people that just do whatever, like people that play sports. These people are sensitive, like they because some people have been waiting their whole life to just get this role or to be in the Star Wars movie, and to shit on that person, it's fucked up. And you got to watch people, because people, like I said, are sensitive. Most people, at least, like those type of people are sensitive, and it's kind of fucked up to me, because people don't know what it takes to even be an actor or be behind the scenes, and there's a lot of shit that goes on behind the scenes. So it's like,
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
you have an inverse here. You have that cocky, arrogant uh, asshole in every group, or that person who will come out and cast a shadow because they can't keep their mouth shut and things like that. And then you have the person who, like you said, this was their big role. This is what they thought was going to make their career. And I mean, let's take a look at that character, which is a very poorly written character. And now you got to think of it from the person's perspective of, they're going to go to their next job and they're going to have this good or bad on their resume. And you don't know the effect, because when they get casted, they're not looking at what the fans say or anything else. These big Hollywood bigwigs, we've seen it 1,000 times, but they don't give a shit about our opinion. What they are looking at, though, is the last character you played. And if the director didn't write your character well, and they see that, they won't even give you a shot, even if you got a great director like James Cameron who says, I need this person, and you fit everything that they need. Well, they look at what you've done and previously, and they're like, nah, I'll
Uh,
pass. And it's not even on you. You were acting as the directors, producers, and the coordinators and all that told you to act. Like, take Captain Marvel. I hate Brie Larson, but one thing I know about Brie Larson from her filmograph is that she can act. She's been in things none of us, even realized. She does have a range of emotions, but in that movie, she was directed poorly. And I said this in my review. The direction was bad. So it was like someone with their camera said, "Hey, I want you to act as hollow of a human being as you can." And she said, "Oh, no problem. I can do that." Right? But, you
uh,
know, a lot of people don't take into account when these characters are made, they're being held in the confines of the creative team. And if you have a shitty creative team, or you have someone who writes a shitty character that gets eclipsed by other people,
uh,
you're going to suffer long term for that role.
right, right. Yeah, that's what I said. Like, certain people play bad roles that dark cloud hangs over their head forever. Like some people, like take Robert Pattinson. What I'm saying, like people want to keep bringing up the Twilight shit, but they don't realize he's been killing it in the indie scene, and the hard work's starting to pay off, because now he's going to be starring in Christopher Nolan's next movie next year, and then he's going to be the Batman after that. So it's like, you know,
And really quick, Bear brought up a good point here. He said 147 tickets left at my Regal opening day. At General Zod's Phantom Zone, sent the photo of the auditorium in tweets. Um, Bear, I would say I've heard these things with a lot of movies, and as someone who is in that line of work, I can tell you that you can't base how well it's going to do off of one theater. It depends on the demographic, where you're located, there's a bunch of factors into ticket sales. And
and,
that's another thing.
and Regal theaters are trash. By the way, if you go on, like that's the last, that's like the my last resort to go to a Regal theater if it ain't AMC.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and Bear, the same goes the opposite way. There are inflated numbers, where you have the media that post all of these sold out things, and then you go and see the theater, and you're like Captain Marvel was a victim of that. Like, oh, no one's in my theater. That's true, but there's
Hmm.
cases where the tickets are already sold, the money is already counted, but the people don't show up that day. There's a lot of different factors when you're talking about just the average moviegoer and the cinema itself. I do believe some of the numbers are inflated both ways. I mean, that's been proven. And you could pick any movie. Uh, they do, they do inflation. We don't actually know, and we never will because we're not an insider, but we don't know the actual numbers. And I can guarantee you, whatever is being told to us, one way or the other, is not the actual number. it's what it's what the media and everyone else wants us to see, or what the studio wants you to see.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what this first weekend's gonna look like because they're definitely selling. I don't know what people be talking about, but they're definitely selling. Like I said, like earlier, it's just certain people will just go up to the movies and just get their ticket if they can.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing when you're talking. That's why, and to Bear's question, that's why I
Mm,
don't like pre-sales, because I think pre-sales is a horrible determination. A pre-sold ticket is not the same as physically going up and buying your ticket. But here's the thing, they have to go by pre-sales because there's no way to track individuals. There's not someone standing there going, okay, this theater had 140 people and was sold out. There's no way to do it until the final numbers are in. And see,
hmm.
that's the box office game, right? You can't tell anything until you get those definitive numbers. You,
Right.
I mean, it's it's a question
It's that
of demographic and where you are, who the movie chain is, how they're promoting the movie, what
what
other movies do you have coming out.
what's your predictions on opening weekend? Over
Me
two,
personally,
at two, or under two?
I'll definitely say, I'm gonna say based on how I've seen it sold out, probably um at two or maybe slightly over,
Okay.
because of the fact. And here's a trick. Here's a Disney trick, and perp, this is true. They're gonna release it worldwide. And here's the thing: domestic box office is going to be bolstered by worldwide release. There's not going to be a single place that doesn't have Star Wars planned. They always front load the shit out of
And
Star Wars.
it's not playing in China, right?
No,
At all.
that's going to release
Release date.
later.
Oh, so yeah, China don't like it, none of that shit. So fuck them. Ever.
Yeah, Joker proved you don't need the Chinese box office.
That's true too.
Yeah, you can still, and I mean, taking China out, it's still going to be every other country.
Hmm.
I heard that that was another article that I brought up. Russia is not particularly thrilled, and there's not a strong showing there. But I mean, too, you got to look at the movie that's being presented and the demographic that it's looking to hit, and more importantly, if anyone knows about it or if anyone has nostalgia about it. Now we're just going to assume Star Wars is Star Wars and everyone knows, and it's going to be a huge hit. But I'm really thinking that the opening weekend is going to be front loaded. Now the question is not going to be how much it does in its first weekend. It's going to be how it does within the first 2 weeks. That's the numbers that you're looking for, because if you have
It,
anything above a 50% drop, it doesn't
mhm.
have legs and it's going to lose steam.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask about the Christmas week since Christmas falls what on a Wednesday or a Thursday. Are they going to count from that like because they count the holiday weekends? Are they going to count all those days as like a weekend?
I think how it works is they count like Christmas Eve and Christmas as the holiday,
Okay.
and then the preceding days are just like regular movie days, or at least that's how
Eh,
our theater does it. So the holiday box office is essentially the holiday that it's on, or with some holidays, it'll be the day before. And sometimes, very rarely, they count the day after as the holiday too. But you only have
Okay.
that 3 day period. And it's also too, the end of the week for tracking is Saturday night, and then Sunday starts the new week.
Okay.
So
Okay. Cause this is why I always said like I think it's gonna do fine its second week because of Christmas is the following week. So it's like a lot of families are gonna go see that on Christmas, and that's probably why the tickets look like the way they do opening night. Maybe some people want to wait until Christmas or wait until like Christmas Eve and go see it on Christmas Day or something like that. That could possibly be it too. Because there's let me look at the look at my theater for Christmas. But I think that's gonna help it out a lot too.
yeah, yeah. The anytime this is the thing, and this is why Star Wars has always released around this time. Anytime you have a movie that opens when the kids have that week break, and for Christmas, it's a week. So most films benefit a lot with the Christmas break in particular. Like war movies count on Veterans Day because the adults are off. So they'll release their war movies at that time because they're
Mm,
targeting those type of people.
right.
Christmas is the family holiday. So not only do you have the kids off, but you have Uncle Joe flew in and Aunt Susie, and you're gonna grab all of those within the ticket price. So that's why Christmas is such an important battleground for films. And Perp, I gotta tell you, it's gonna be interesting with Jumanji. People slept on the first Jumanji, and it did really well. And I mean, it
I'm
was
heard
running against Last Jedi.
I'm hearing mixed things about Jumanji. Like some people like it, some people say, don't you waste your money. Shout out to 19K Fox. I watched his little 2 minute review.
Yeah,
And
19K Fox is great. If you guys are new, or if you're gonna see this stream later, go over to 90K Fox and show him some love. And just a heads up, with the
all right,
chat so dead, I think it's because of the Mandalorian. That's what I'm gonna blame it on.
all right, Bear. I'll see you later. Be easy. He's leaving.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just not coming on until another hour and a half at least. Because they always they always half-ass when they release them. Just that's why I say, man, binging is better. You don't gotta wait for you don't gotta worry about them, delaying a fucking release of an episode.
Perp, I'm not, I was kind of on the fence seeing both sides, but like after seeing Mandalorian, I think it suffers from not being binge worthy, because even your reviews can't be really even, because I went back through and like I waited, and then I watched one, two, and three. And then, like I said in my review, when you watch it as a whole, it starts to make more sense than if you're watching one and
Exactly.
then you're watching two, and then you're like, well, why is this better than the other one? And then three comes out, and you're
And,
like,
and
oh,
that's
okay.
why and that's why I said if it's going to be weekly, you gotta make those 8 weeks worth it. Because right now it's just like I'm like half and half with it right now. It's just like, yo, just give me the rest of the episodes right now. I just want to get the shit over with.
Yeah, because then you can go back through. Because what I want to do is, after I do each review of each episode, I want to do the series and just sit down and watch a whole thing straight through and go, okay, now
and
as the
and
series.
me and PB was talking about this yesterday. It was just like, is this what the whole show is going to be about? Is protecting Baby Yoda? Like, if that's the case, then I'm out. Like, it has to be more to this. There has to be way
Mhm.
more to like this last episode has to set up the rest of like at least season two and just where all this is going to go. Like, is
But see,
there
like you
ending?
said, that's the disadvantage of not binging it, because you can't see if that's the case, because you can't just watch it straight through. And this is the kind of show that, the irony? this is the kind of show that binging was made for. Those 20, 30-minute episodes that you can burn
Yeah.
through in under like 2 or 3 hours. You probably could literally watch this whole show in like 2 hours. And
And that's the thing about binging too. Like you could still watch it week to week, or you could watch two episodes at a time, or something. You could watch it at your completely own pace and stuff. Because either way, if it's week to week or all at once, you're still going to get spoiled on something. Like I remember when Baby Yoda first came out, I even watched the goddamn episode and I saw it's like, oh god, they got Baby Yoda spoiled.
yep.
So it's like regardless, like if you're on the internet, you're going to get spoiled regardless of what it is.
Yeah, sometimes I hate the internet, man.
Yeah, I feel you. I'll like
This
I'll hop on
YouTube
one day.
thing's ruined a lot of shit.
Like you wake up, you go on Twitter is the worst place because like I got this one dude I follow. I had to mute him because he always posts like Attack on Titan shit. I was like, bro, I do not need to see this. I don't want to see this yet.
Yeah, that's the game we're in though. It's like I feel like we get spoiled so easily because of the fact of we do this thing. So no matter what it is, we're going to see spoilers unless, like me, I've gotten free screenings and stuff like that. I've been glad for those because I'm just like, yes. Now I'm the one who can't post anything.
But I do on the other side of things, yeah. If you have it week to week, you have something to talk about. But also, like if it's like these last two episodes, there's really nothing to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, that's been the whole thing. Like you had everyone post their reviews one night and then radio silence and like but you take three and like everyone was hyped about that. So I
Yeah,
mean it's a mixed bag.
definitely is.
So
I'm team binging all day. I'm
yeah,
all for binging all day.
yeah, I'm waiting for the show that is gonna hook me. I haven't I've been kind of going back through and watching other stuff. So uh
Hmm.
man, I was on that Gravity Falls for a while. I binged that.
You said you have Hulu, right?
Yes.
Please, 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 pretty please watch reprisal or reprisal, whatever however you want to pronounce it on Hulu. It's their best show. Period. If you like Kill Bill and you like movies like Drive, you will like that show. That show is fucking fire.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
And it's
agree.
got and it's got Rob Perlman in it. So definitely watch that.
Yeah, I like Ron Perlman. I've always liked him. He was the best part. Like when they killed him in Sons of Anarchy, I was almost out on that show. But I was so in deep that I was like, okay, I gotta see how it
Sons was
ends.
dope. I love Sons.
Yeah, I definitely I got some things on the back burner, but it's like every time I get ready to do my watch, then stuff like this comes out, and I'm like, oh, I gotta work
Yeah, I
on
feel you.
this. But we covered that. Daisy Ridley. Let's talk about the girl.
That's my baby. Ray
I
Mine.
I gotta say, I might not like her role in the film, but I think that the more I see her in interviews and things like that, I gotta say she conducts herself very well as far as the public goes.
Right.
Like I think that uh
She almost has to because she's a new face, so she's
but
going
it's
through her baby
refreshing.
steps.
I like the way she's answered the Raylo stuff. I've liked the way she's answered her feelings on things, like how she's commented on certain aspects she didn't like in the movie. But she's like a Gal Gadot, right?
Hmm.
There's certain people that know how to, you know, address the media and address the public without lighting a fire and still being honest. And if this is the future of actors, or we can get more actors like that, then that's a good sign because, one thing, whether people dislike or like her character, I think the character of the person, if people see her in other stuff and we
Mhm.
get to see her range, I think that her going off to doing something, she would have a better reception because of the way that she's conducted herself in this interview. And I mean, like, even Adam Driver, um, once again, I'm not a Kylo fan, but the way he conducts himself outside and the way he's like very down to earth, he's
Mhm.
married, he's got a kid, you know, it brings that down to earth, grounded feel that a lot of these actors could take a cue from. So,
Right.
like,
Marvel.
does that make you interested to see their other projects?
Yeah, because like John Boyega definitely. You know, I like his energy because he definitely has the most energy out of all the actors in the cast. He's really like putting that shit in his back. Um, I want to watch the Marriage Story. I watched a little bit of it. It's with Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. Scarlett
Yeah,
Johansson's got like a shortcut. Anyways, yeah, I'm curious because this is smart for Daisy because who knows what she's going to be in next. Are people going to support her for her, or is it their hate for her just because she played Ray or something like that? Like, are people going to give her other stuff a chance? I know I will. Not Poe Dameron, fucking Oscar Isaac. He's gonna be fine. He seems to not have issue getting work and nothing like that. Like, I think after this movie, everybody's gonna be fine.
yeah. I think that there'll be certain people who are gonna probably have a little bit of a struggle, but the two main cast members, I do have to highlight and give credit where credit is due. I think the way that they have conducted themselves on the press circuit, the way they've answered questions is very tactful. And see, that I can respect because, like, Brie Larson makes me want to punch her in the face and not ever see anything, no matter who's attached. Like, there's a great movie coming out with Jamie Foxx and Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Uh,
What's up, Sean? What up, Sean Stackhouse? See you.
yeah, and I was interested, and then I saw Brie Larson, and I'm like, ugh.
And, and the more I watch that trailer or see it in theaters, I'm like, it doesn't seem like she's overdoing it or nothing. She's just doing what she does. It
Yeah,
does
and
look interesting, but I don't personally need to see that in theaters.
yeah, but see, and here's the thing that makes me so frustrated about her is the fact that in that role, it looks like she's acting. So, you know, it's one of those cats. I'll probably see it because I like films like that, based on true stories and things like that. So I'll
Yeah.
probably go and see it. And I always support my man Jamie Foxx. Love him as an actor.
Yeah,
People don't remember.
Jamie Foxx is a once in a lifetime type of talent. Like there's not very actors out there that could just like people that could just act, do singing, be an
Comedy.
entertainer, yeah, and do stand up and just that's a incredible feat right there. And he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
get his just due neither.
I felt like he's been snubbed out of a lot of things. And don't get me wrong, Jamie Foxx is like any actor. You have your highs and your lows, but I
Hmm.
really count his career more highs than lows. He's been in a lot of good films and he's yet to have his due. So if this is going to be like a powerhouse performance, because all of these movies are coming out for nomination series, I'd like to see him get some kind of credit because I like the actors that put in work, and more importantly, in real life, Jamie Foxx seems like a pretty down to earth, chill kind of
Yeah.
guy, you know. But swinging back to Star Wars, it's like um, that's the difficulty with these films, and I mean, you're talking Star Wars, Marvels, things like that. I mean, my prime example, look at Chris Evans. Me personally, I think he's very overhyped. and I love Captain America, but the fact that
Mm,
he's got all these roles now, like
yeah,
I feel like they're gonna oversaturate him
yeah,
because you know,
of course, because like you just came off of two of the biggest movies in the last 2 years, but nobody talks about those movies anymore like that. Um, yeah, they're gonna be good. Anybody that was a part of like Endgame, Infinity War, you're gonna be good for another like X amount of years.
oh yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt, and so
Oh, before you go, like a good example of that is like that show I was talking about, Reprisal, or whatever on Hulu. The dude that plays Aladdin is in there, and he's really dope. So I'm like, I might have to go. I know I hear that Aladdin's trash, but like he's actually really good in this show. I was like, damn, maybe TV is more his thing.
and you see that's the thing. I believe every actor has that thing where they have to find that role that will define them. And here's the problem we're having with new casting and these new people in general. I don't think that they're getting like the on the boot training that these old actors have gotten. When you look,
Hmm.
take a cast from like back in the day, your Harrison Fords and things like that, they were already doing stuff and getting notoriety before they went on to a big project. And
Hmm.
like, it's the thing with the casting in Hollywood. This is where diversity hurts people because you're plucking these new faces that haven't even gotten really dipped their toes into anything else and you're putting them
Right.
in a role. And if that role sucks, you're killing their career.
They honestly should be starting pulling more talent from television because there's a lot of talented actors and actresses and actors on television right now, like that are just straight up killing it. That was like, damn. But I understand like they just feel more comfortable with television because television you can kind of like you get a better sense of a person's acting range, as they go season to season, see their character grow, fall or whatever, you know.
Well, take that guy from Power, right, who plays Ghost.
Hmm.
Great
Yeah,
on that
Amari.
show.
Hmm.
Yeah, but if you like look at his movies, and I've seen a couple of his films, he's very subpar as a movie star. But I
Mm.
mean, his range in Power is like completely different, and it's kind of funny
How
because you're like,
how long did those
how can
movies
you
come
pull
out
off this
ago?
role and not do, this movie the same way?
When did those movies come out? Like before Power?
No, it's during this last run. He's been doing a lot of different movies, comedies, and things like that.
Yeah, he probably just needs to find the right like script and whatnot, and it's gonna be interesting to see him in Zack Snyder's movie that they're doing and stuff. He's gonna be starring in that, so yeah,
Yeah,
he's got a lot of potential. Like I think he's at the point to me like with just how he portrays Ghost and stuff, and like his range, he's gotten a lot better, and he could definitely be a big movie star one of these days. He just needs the right team behind him and stuff. And I think that's the key word too. Like people just need the right people behind them to be able to bring that talent out in them.
and that's the talk, isn't it? When you talk about Star Wars, you need the right team to bring out the range of the characters, and the team has been fluctuating to someone being able to pull off a particular thing well, and then a character written terribly to where maybe the actor or actress has the range, but they're um they're held back by the script. Look at Lauren Dern when she came in, and everyone says the joke, but I gotta say it. General gender studies, right? you
That
know, with the nonsensical hair that was pink or whatever, and
was
and you look
purple.
at
Yeah,
her,
right. Purple.
purple. I,
And
my bad, that was like sacrilege.
I didn't have a problem with the character because all she was doing is putting Poe in check because because previously in that movie like Poe got a lot of people killed, so it's like it's more on him. It's his, like he was
Yeah,
just
but you could
previously.
also argue the adverse of it. She did that whole nonsensical hyperdrive thing, and
I don't
it
see.
go,
I don't see that whole thing. I'm like, that's a nitpick, man. Like that's doesn't bother me. I was like, who cares? It's hyperspace. It's a little thing that happens in a movie. Like, man, that's such a nitpick. That is such a nitpick.
yeah, but see, that's that's the fan coming out. I mean,
Yeah, I
I
know.
followed, you know what I mean? But I mean, just take a look though at the Lauren Dern's character herself, right? And I felt like you, and this is a problem the new movies have, is that you introduce someone and you put a good actor or actress there, and then you don't really do nothing with the character. It seems like a waste of a potentially good story arc. And that's another issue that I think that this new trilogy suffers from, is the lack of capitalizing on potentially good characters that could be good, solid, grounded characters and add depth to the story.
Mm.
You know, and don't get me wrong, The Mandalorian does the same thing. Now, this is probably not a popular opinion, but I liked Toro. I liked his character. I thought that
Who?
they could have developed that, the gunslinger.
Oh,
I I thought that they could have developed it and had an arch nemesis, right? You could have built uh, someone that the Mandalorian had to watch his back over. And what did they
even
do?
even the Asian chick. I'm like, yo, like they hyped her up. Oh, she's one of these most dangerous assassins. Blah blah blah. And she gets killed like that.
Yeah, and it's like, what was the point? I totally agree with you, Perk. And this is a problem that Star Wars has, even with our favorite directors. I mean, and that episode was written about by Cowboy Dave. You know how I feel about Cowboy Dave. I had the hat. And but I felt like so much wasted potential, and that is the thing in a lot of, especially in the new trilogy, there's a lot of good wasted moments, or moments that don't make sense, that drag down what could be
What
great.
One thing I do hope they do is change that whole rule of two. That whole rule of two thing for the Siths are stupid. That's a stupid game plan that never works. Like, oh yeah, let's just have two of us against like 10 fucking Jedi. Yeah, that's smart.
The whole thing stems back to they basically destroyed themselves, and I'm going into the history of the Sith. They
I know
destroyed
that's
themselves with
that's
power and greed. So the
I,
rule of
I
two keeps that fail safe. So there's always a Sith.
that's stupid. There would be always a Sith if you had like 10 of those bitches. But I always think about like how like bringing up a Bleach reference. The Emperor should have had a setup like that. Like you have two lieutenants, and then you have 10 motherfuckers that are under you that are pretty damn strong.
But see, once again, though, uh, Perp, we can all bring it back to the writing style, and see, this is the issue between Lucasfilms and Marvel Entertainment, is that whether you think a Marvel story is generic or it's done the same thing, the format works. They do write well drawn out characters. I mean, they made B level heroes A quality, right? That's a great feat because they gave the characters depth and room to grow. And with Star Wars, they are scrambling, and you can see it in the writing. They're scrambling to make these standout characters, and it's like it annoys me in the fact, like we talked about with the Mandalorian, you have a good idea and then you just cut it off, and it's like, why didn't you have
Mm,
the balls to continue the idea? Why'd you hold yourself to this formatic writing where you could have did something that's actually out of the box and makes sense?
yeah, and that's why like I this is why like if people know this that I like the Last Jedi is because they kind of they were trying to change the formula, but to me, I feel like they didn't completely sway away from like what made Star Wars Star Wars. I think a lot of things there's certain things in that movie that just I feel like just goes over people's heads, and it's just not the story that they wanted. That's fine. There's plenty of like take Power. I enjoy Power. I I love power, but the direction they go in, I can't. I would have done it better. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still in it to see how it's going to end. You know.
And that's the thing. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? Whether you like or hate this new Disney trilogy, one thing that they
Mhm.
did do is they got us all into this mode that if you hate it, you want to see the inevitable dumpster fire, right?
Yeah.
But if you like it, like you're curious to see how it ends. The curiosity factor is there. I just wish that the writing was a little bit stronger. And I mean,
Like
come on.
take.
If you compare Last Jedi to Knives Out, can you say that that's Ryan Johnson's finest writing?
I mean,
Let's be real.
I honestly like. Let's take Kylo for example, right? I'm loving what they're doing with Kylo because he's not your generic bad guy. He has flaws. He's not perfect. He's not evil just to be evil. Like the Emperor was just evil to be just evil. You know what I'm saying? Like he got to his goal and it just turned to this bad guy. Vader, that's a whole nother story. He's pretty much the Emperor's lapdog. Um,
Yeah, but look at the depth and the layers with him, though. There's
I
still
mean,
complexities there.
I mean, like, yeah, like Sidious goes deep, but like Darth Vader's not as deep as like people. I know that's crazy to say, but his story, his whole character is not that deep. If you just look at those three movies that he's in, because they could have really, they could have really done something with his character, but like, to for him to be under Palpatine and take orders from Tarkin and stuff. I was like, then like, how are you this big badass? And this is why it's interesting to see Kylo's journey because it's just different. It's just completely different from what we're used to. Oh, you manipulate this guy, he turns bad. Oh, he's a Sith. He's a Sith Lord now. Cool. No, with him, it's just like an actual journey. It's just like and I like what they did with Snoke because Snoke pretty much told him what he was going to do, and you know, this is what Kylo did to Snoke is what I wish Vader would have done to the Emperor. It's like, yo, why am I taking orders from you? I'm way more powerful than you. Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, and
And
see,
now,
here's
now,
the thing
and
for
now,
me. For
and now he's going into the third movie as the Supreme Leader. Like he's the big bad and stuff and whatnot. Even though he has to deal with the emperor and shit. Like we still don't know exactly what they're going to do with him. But
See, here's the thing for you, and the way you explain it, it is exciting. I mean, that's an excellent explanation. But at the same point, there's a difference between a great idea and executing it. And I think where you have that gap where people kind of can't get on board is the execution is not that great. I mean, sometimes he comes off as having a temper tantrum and things like that. And I know it's funny for me to say, coming from the old trilogy, you can argue the same thing with Anakin, you
and
know.
you gotta, but then you gotta ask yourself, why is he throwing these tantrums and stuff? And just like you could see that he's torn up. He just and that's another thing. Like going back to Force Awakens with that whole Ray fight, he took a blaster by like a blaster shot by Chewie, which definitely fucked him up, and he just killed his father. He's not thinking straight. He's angry, and that shows and that shows in the Last Jedi because when Rey goes into that throne room, she's all mad, but you see Kylo, he's mad calm, and he's able to think, he's able to think a lot clearer. And he's a lot smarter than Rey.
See,
It's
this is
like
why I wish you produced a movie because how you explain it is much better than how I feel they explain it when they're visually showing. Like,
and it's like and that's the thing. I just feel like it's kind of simple, but they Ryan Johnson kind of tried to make it complex. It's really not that complex. Like, and I understand like certain things do kind of mess it up, and and what they do with Luke. Let's talk about Luke. A lot of people hate that scene, but think about it, right? That is a very Luke Skywalker thing to do. His whole purpose, when he's talking to Kylo, he's like, I won't be the last Jedi, and that goes before I get to Luke, but that goes into what Snoke was saying in the Force Awakens. He's like, if Luke Skywalker is still alive, his presence will arise other Jedi. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah,
that's why it makes sense that for him to do the non-selfish thing, sacrifice himself like Obi-Wan did, you know.
and
So
see,
so
I
you
get
could
the
be.
context of the scenes and how you explain it is
Mm,
it's a very good explanation. And here's the thing, though, the Ryan Johnson execution is the problem. And I said this with Nine Knives Out review. That's a problem that runs deep in his movies. He likes to overcomplicate things, and sometimes he likes to treat the audience like we're not on that level. I mean, let's be real. On the real, Ryan Johnson's a pompous asshole. I mean,
I mean, that's
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 just
that's every that's I feel like every director's kind of like that. They're
oh
always
yeah, yeah.
like kind of
You should have seen my
self-absorbed.
video on James Cameron. I think he's an asshole too. But the difference between the two of them is Cameron's got stuff under his belt,
Hmm.
and movie wise, he has proven he's got good movies. Ryan Johnson's still fresh. I mean, he's got three movies, and then Star Wars,
Yeah,
which
but
I mean,
I definitely understand what people are coming from. You know, they're not used to like a director coming out doing what he's doing and the way he talk, like he feels. And I like me honestly, regardless of how people feel about it, I kind of respect them more because like you're not being fake. You know what I'm saying? You're being honest to how you feel about something. Like that should be like any artist. You know, any artist or somebody that creates something. You know, you should be proud of it, regardless if people like it or they don't like it. You know, and if you and it's your right to like talk shit about it too. You know, but
yeah, and it's always curious to take
mm,
the generational gaps. When you go to the way social media is and the way that things just fan into a fire and you got the splits between two sides, um, they were always there. Okay, let's be real.
excuse me.
EU fans and movie Star Wars fans have been battling for years when the prequels came out, right? And it's like,
Hmm.
oh, they scrapped this from the EU and blah blah blah.
And
EU everybody.
that's another thing I was talking about with PB, the whole EU thing. Like, you know, if they want to pick from the EU, like certain stories, because all that stuff with like was it Jay Solo? That was like,
Hmm.
they have all these fucking kids. I was like, people that just watch the movies ain't gonna understand that shit. So it's like
Yeah,
pick from certain things, like specific like aspects of it, and you know. And I agree with what PB said. They didn't have to make an announcement by it, but like I think either way, if you didn't announce it, people would have been even madder. Like, what? This is not even connected to anything, or just what's going on here? I think people would be even more confused. Because like, how many
I
books?
like
How
what
many?
Tommy said. He
What do you
said
say?
so few care anything about established canon or films and wreck the stories and timelines.
I
Uh,
mean, I feel like this is my personal opinion because I feel like like people that wrote those books. That's why I don't read those books because it's like you gotta put that shit in the movies. I don't care about it because now it's irrelevant now. But you know, casual people like I consider myself a casual because I just see the movies and stuff and occasionally watch the shows and stuff like that. You know, but you know, you setting up all these canon shits and like a normal movie goer is not going to know who Ahsoka is or you know nobody's gonna know who XYZ is. Be like oh and like you'll see the fans react and the people that know the EU be like oh who yo this person showed up and the next person next to you be like who is this guy? I have no idea who
yeah,
this person is.
yeah, and we've had that debate before when you take any of these established canons that have inevitable offshoots, um, you're gonna have the casual moviegoer that's targeted to that's not gonna know, and that's a issue that the directors face because it's like, okay, I've got all of this material that's been established over. And like you're talking Star Wars, you're going back to like the 70s, 80s, all those books in between. And I'll even admit I read a lot of them, but not nearly as many as like say Stig or someone else like that. So
Hmm.
I mean, I got a base knowledge to where I could talk EU with people, but I'm not. I'm no Ryan Cannell or any of them where I'm like, yeah, this is sacrilege kind of a thing. But even
Hmm.
if you have a base knowledge, right, you still have an edge over the typical person who's only seen the original Star Wars or only seen the prequels. You still have that edge, and it feeds into that saltiness when someone tries to do the fan service and they do it poorly.
Hmm.
And it's a double-edged sword because we cry out for the fan service. We want it as a fan. You
Yeah,
want a little nugget, but then when it's not done right, it turns on the person, and we're like, "What the fuck, man? That's not how they." Yeah,
it's a good
and
point.
and you know what? Somewhat from perspective, I can understand the director's point of view to an extent because lore is a tricky thing. And I've seen it
Yeah.
done. My favorite author is Stephen King. I've read anything he's wrote since like Pet Cemetery or in The Langoliers and all of that, right? And I've seen shitty adaptation after shitty adaptation of his movies
Pet
for
Cemetery.
years. Oh God, oh the original was better than that. Oh God. But
Yeah,
you see
I
what I
agree.
mean? But then
Hmm.
you have a normal moviegoer who see that movie and go, "Man, that was scary. That was awesome. Man, I'd never seen some shit
And,
like that."
and this is why, like, I mentioned this like a while ago. We were talking about Star Wars and the direction they went. I think they literally had to make some really hard decisions. Be like, all right, do we cut off canon and go in a completely different direction and just pick from certain things, or do we stay with the canon and hope that we could still make sense of everything and just throw people into this world? And I
And
think
Tommy said to me, he gave me numbers 76 so think about that. 76 and 77 were when the books came out. And most people forgot the story was written before the movie. The original book was a little bit different than the movie, of course.
and, and
So,
you gotta think, and that generation and stuff, they're really into this generation is not into reading like that, as far
no,
as I know.
no, you got
I
very
do.
few kids.
Like,
If it ain't an ebook, they
yeah, like
ain't bothering.
yeah, like they'll do an audio book or something like that, and you could do that too, but it's just like I looked into like who Jace Solo and all them and Jenna and stuff. And I was like, yo, that was almost hard for me to keep up that whole fucking story, like because the dude, I guess Star Wars Theory, he did like a breakdown. He called it like the real Kylo Ren or something like that and whatnot, and that shit would have been really confusing to like just the average person. You got like Anakin Soul Skywalker, not Anakin Skywalker, but was it Anakin Solo and all these kids. You got the whole baby kids and shit. Like that shit's you gotta simplify that for some people.
Yeah, and see at that point, I can understand where it gets hard to keep up with canon. And even if you're back in the day with George Lucas, it's an issue that he ran into and Dave Filoni and the rest of them as like, okay, I can pull from this, but how do I put this in a way that other people are going to watch this show or they're going to watch this movie, right? And I've got to introduce this character in a way that the normal person is going to see him and go, oh, okay, I understand what they're about. I might not get the whole
Hmm.
context of the character, but I've got enough to be invested in the character. And that's why I tell people, like, when you're adapting from a book to a movie or from a movie to a book, you got to have a little bit of levity. I mean, because books can be as long as you want them to be. You can have Lord of the Rings, okay? That book is damn near 2,000 pages. Perp, it was the longest years of my life getting through Lord of the Rings. Worth it by the third book, but that first book, he is
It,
such a long-winded writer. Oh, good
it's
God.
the same thing. It's the same thing with Harry Potter. Like I got a couple of those books. I got the Half Blood Prince and the Goblet of Fire. I never read them shits. I read like a couple chapters and like I looked at the book. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna get through this. Thank
Yeah.
God for the movies.
And see me, I was the opposite. Honestly, I read every book. I've read the Deathly Hallows. Personally, I felt the film did it better. It was weird for me, but I don't think that the book translated well, breaking it into two parts, because in the book is how they did it in the movie. They literally fucking walk for like 80 chapters. It felt like just motherfuckers walking, no action, and the action is the dialogue, but on screen, as we see so many times, that doesn't translate well. And that's where I feel like this battle comes in. Because yes, it is a rich history. I mean, for any EU fan that might click this on and be like, fuck that motherfucker. EU is rich and full of stuff. Yes, okay, you're right. You're right. It's a rich tapestry of great things, but that's not the issue. The issue is how do you take a like, you know, 500-page novel or whatever else, how do you translate that into a 40-minute or a 30-minute or a 2 hour format? It's impossible. You can't, not without
Yeah,
cutting some things out.
yeah,
It's, I mean, look what Marvel does. Literally, I am a huge comic book fan. And you've heard me and PB get into these arguments, right, about source material. And I
yeah.
fall into the trap too, because I've read comic books and I'm like, well, god damn it, a comic book ain't even like 100 pages. You can, you know what I mean? You could have put this, and
Yeah.
this. But then if I take a step back and I go, okay, what makes Luke Cage Luke Cage? He comes from Harlem. He's had a hard upbringing. Okay, how did they adapt him on Netflix as opposed to in the comic book? And then I stop and I look at it from that perspective and I say, oh, okay, I see why the director went this direction because certain stories in his, biograph won't work for what you're trying to sell. All right, I got to step back and I got to give it a little bit of levity and I got to say, okay, you're right. That's not going to translate well. Like Luke Cage Christmas, that's a stupid ass comic, but
Yeah.
a lot of people like it. But I mean, and do you really want to see that live action?
Yeah, certain things don't do be live action and like that, but
Yeah, that's the thing. It then comes
that's what I
down
said.
to
Like if they ever make a Dragon Ball Z movie and they started to adapt the Saiyan saga, I'd be like, that's lot to cover. So they would have to either cut a certain character out or characters and stuff, and to kind of make it more cohesive. Because that's a lot of fucking story and just that Saiyan saga. It's a lot
yeah,
that
and
goes
here's
on.
the thing. We come from anime, and I know you are like me and probably get pissy with the film adaptations at times when uh, they with anime has this curse where there's so much stuff. I feel like the directors are like, oh shit, I gotta pack this into one movie. This is cool, and it's like, nah,
Mm,
focus on one arc. You can do a couple of chapters and like
yeah.
make a good story here. Like for instance, everyone hails Alita Battle Angel. Look, I knew the source material. I knew the anime and I read the manga. And my problem with that film, even though I think it's the probably the first best anime adaptation I've seen from America. My problem with that film is that I can see the storylines because I've read it. But if you're watching it from like someone who's never seen the movie, or I mean, never seen the anime, you're like, okay, why is she going to rollerball? Oh, now she's a hunter. Like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, why is she jumping? And it's not that she's jumping around; it's that they're jumping between story arcs,
Yeah.
and they're trying to compress like a bunch of chapters and a bunch of characters into one film, and then you get it bloated and overcrowded. And swinging it back to Star Wars. Now you take books from 76 all the way to now. That's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, nobody gonna go through that. Like, where's the spark notes for all this?
It's a curse when you're adapting stuff. So I understand Disney saying, okay, we're going to throw out the EU canon because there's too much stuff and people will get too pissy and there's no way for us to ever adapt this faithfully. But now here's the thing that pisses me off about this decision and about J.J. Abrams is that if you're going to play that game where you're going to say, all right, I'm not going to cater to the EU, fine, good. Most of us are on the fence about that anyways. We've been divided since the original movies. But if you're going to take that stance, then you can't turn around in your movie and pull directly from an EU story. Because then it's like, so what you're telling me is, no, I don't want to adapt their stories, but I want to adapt something if it's going to make my movie work. Because if that's the case, you're just fucking a lazy writer. Because it's too hard for you to come up with something original. You have to copy something like you said with Force Awakens. It's kind of like a copy and paste of New Hope, right?
Pretty much.
And that is lazy writing because you're taking the same plot beats. Maybe you're putting a different spin on it, but when people watch it overall, they're comparing it to something else. If you're claiming you want to do an original movie, you want to do original ideas, and you got original ideas in there, then you shouldn't have to copy the beats of another film. You should be
Right.
creating your own beats.
Hmm.
And I guess if Ryan did anything right, that he definitely created his own orchestra. I went to no tune.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go watch Force Awakens. I got this. Uh, just
It's like,
give me a brief like outline of this, and I'll make it work. I'm not
like,
gonna copy like JJ. I'll just do my own thing.
and that the irony of it. I think of it like this per picture, like you go to an orchestra, one of them symphony orchestras, right? Say that's Star Wars, and you got a beautiful orchestra, and then you have someone come in with like an electric guitar and start jamming,
Right.
and you're sitting there looking, going, "What the fuck just happened?"
I feel like going forward though, I feel like people just need to just go in any movie, even if you're excited for it, just go in there with low expectations, or just have no expectations, or just you know try to be surprised. I'm hyped for Wonder Woman. I know because I believe in Patty Jenkins. You know, the energy showed to
Oh
me
yeah,
that she has a great product in her hands, and they can't wait to show it to the world. But like just going forward, just any big movie, whether it be Marvel, Star Wars, DC, whatever new property, just have low expectations for it. So when if it's bad, you already had low expectations for it anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
yeah, and I think on the inverse, I think that's the thing is that with this movie, you just kind of got to go in and see it as just this movie. You can make the comparison later, and maybe even later you can go back through and watch the series and
Yeah,
go, okay, this is supposed to be a
yeah,
trilogy. It doesn't make sense. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, just have fun with the movie. Like, why does everybody gotta be depressed about shit? Like, just have fun in the movie. If it's bad, just have a fun time trashing it. Kind of just be respectful about it. Be like, oh, this is they killed Star Wars. Da, 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 da. No, you know, just have fun with the movie. Chill there with other Star Wars fans. That's the whole point of movies is to go see a movie and enjoy with other people that enjoy movies and shit. Like I think we just gotten so far away from that.
I do agree with you on that point. I think the one thing that we should be united from, and that's why it's great to have like you or Chris or people who weren't necessarily on the downright hating Last Jedi train, is that it's good to get that perspective. Like, yeah, we could look at it as bonding mutual hatred, right? When you really think about the effect of what The Last Jedi did, one thing that it did is it did unite a lot of people who would have never met if
Yeah,
it
and
didn't feel so
it
strongly.
it made a lot of people's channels pop, so you better be thankful for that.
Yeah, those clicks, them clicks is gonna be coming, man.
That
Channels are gonna be.
before Last Jedi, y'all was nobodies. Just being honest. Just being honest. But that's it's crazy how one movie could just shift the whole fandom and just shift things in general and just it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And everybody's making money off of it. Everybody. Disney's
Yep.
making money off Star Wars. The people that hate Disney Star Wars is making money off it. So you're no better than them.
And that's the thing. That's the big thing too, is that a lot of people get monetized. A lot of people will get those ad revenues and things like that. Uh,
Right.
and you're right. And thank you for making a terrible movie, or thank you for making a good movie. Either way, I won out of that.
Right. So win-win for everybody. Because it's a win-win for Disney because people are still talking about their movie. That's all they want.
uh, uh,
Is
yeah, I
PB
just,
still is PB still shoveling snow with a spoon?
I think he is.
Fucking caveman.
Yeah, so um, that was my Star Wars talk. I'm so glad actually that we were able to do a kind of one-on-one. It's good to have a fresh perspective. I think it was nice having a good back and forth on different things. And it's nice to see it from your angle, because I wish I had your optimism.
And then I want to shout out Tommy and Biden Dirty, and who else was in here? Is Biden Touch in here too? I want to shout out Biden and Tommy for really holding it down
Yeah,
and just
they've been having
you know
good
what I'm saying.
conversations.
'Cause,
And
I know I know when people hear a black man speak, they just run. Just kidding. But
So I guess before we start to wind things down, because I wanted to do this talk, and then Mando's gonna be coming on. I gotta get ready for Mando Monday. But
yep.
you know,
PB, you had a dead battery. What you talking about? Your car died or something? That would be beat.
I think that I wanted to highlight something. So I was watching Young Ripa. I like watching him. He's very insightful in the comic world, and he's got that understanding of the comic books as well, and does review on new comic books. But he also does the MCU coverage, and he talked about an interview with Gal Gadot, and it's the media trying to trap these people into those answers. Like, oh, female empowerment, right?
Mm.
Her Gal Gadot handles herself. I mean, she's got to be
Yeah, she
the
just
best
and they did that. They
at
did that at the
interviews.
event. They did that at the event because like the whoever was hosting was like, "How is this going to inspire other women?" And she was like, this won't only inspire women, but just everybody. You know, Men, women, children, doesn't matter. Just everybody. And I love that shit. I love that shit. That was dope.
Yeah, like when she was like, it might have young men or little boys look at the female character differently, because they can connect with what she does too. And it's just like, you know, if and we've seen Patty Jenkins, okay, so we know from the first movie how she played it. And so no one has an issue or any contentions with it. And just seeing the trailers, I saw nothing that really raised any red flags. It's like, when you have, this is what I was talking about with press. When you have a gracious actress promoting and conducting herself, not playing the feminist angle, but just playing the come see my movie, look at the response you get. Like that trailer is blowing up. And with this interview coming out now, it's blowing up with the bigger channels, because she's hitting that I'm not going to talk one way or the other. So, you know, you got our crowd who is like, oh, she's not playing politics, blah blah blah. But more importantly, I just think it speaks to the person and how they conduct themselves in the press circuit. And we need more actors and actresses doing that. Henry Cavill, same thing. I watched The Witcher because the of the answer that he gave when they tried to trip him up. and they were talking about the Witcher, and they're like, well, do you think, it's got a strong, sense of female leads and stuff like that? And he goes, I am just here for, the show. And he goes, I think it has something for everyone. I think that it has something for fans or people who like the books and blah, blah, blah. But you know what I mean? I'm like, that is how you handle the press. You know, he doesn't put himself in danger of
Yeah,
the media attacking him.
people gotta learn how to shoulder roll. They
Perfect
always
word.
they try to set you. They try to set you. They try to set you up. You gotta be on your p's and q's. Hit
Yeah,
that shoulder roll.
exactly. You can tell, like, take Avengers and Marvel too, and the way those actors, like Chris Evans and Mark Ruffalo, are very left leaning, uh, like the crazy side of politics. But I do respect the fact that when the movie was out, they talked about the movie. Robert Downey Jr. walked out of an interview when they tried to trap him. He's like,
Hmm.
"No, man, we're here to talk about Iron Man. What are you talking about? All this other stuff." Like, and I think it goes into a lot of things. You gotta these people. You gotta tell them the game, and that's the problem with a lot of these young actors, and especially when it concerns like Star Wars or something like that. Me personally, hearing like how some of the actors came out and they disagree with some stuff, like for instance, J.J. Abrams throwing Ryan Johnson under the bus. It's like that's pompous ego right there. See, that's different because now you're trying to take the blame and shift it, and it doesn't matter whether you feel it's Ryan Johnson or not. You started with your name attached. You both
Yeah,
wrote and
that's
okayed. You're
that,
the
that's
top
what
dog.
that's what I said. Like if a director, if people don't like the way a director directs something, like that's on everybody. Everybody's on the same ship. So if you throw somebody under the bus, you gotta throw yourself under the bus too. You gotta you gotta acknowledge your problems too in the movie or whatever it is. Can't just sit there single something out. That's not right.
Exactly. And that's the thing that separates someone who could work the press with someone who gets nervous under that pressure. Like you can tell with JJ that he's trying to walk that line of, oh, fans, I'm on your side, but then the company oh, there were some things I liked about The Last Jedi. And then this is where you get confused because I read an article saying there were some things he liked from Ryan Johnson's cut. So it's like, dude, how can you say you liked certain aspects of the film, but then throw the director under the bus?
Right? That's you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Exactly. If you are going to place blame on someone for something, then you've got to shoulder the blame yourself too. Otherwise, it's just a he said, she said, and then you both look like dumbasses.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you
you
what,
know,
if I was a famous director, and people wouldn't like me, so I'll speak my mind.
they'd be
I'll
like,
be doing I'll be doing hella indies for like the rest of my life. I'll be perfectly fine with that. Cause be like, look, you little actors ain't gonna tell me what the fuck to do or throw me under the bus, motherfucker. I'm gonna throw you under the bus, literally crush your ass.
and I think that's the problem that you have. Like when you look at actors and actresses, they can deflect a lot more than a director can because you're like, oh, well, you wrote and you manned the helm and stuff like that. And it's like, no, I had a writing room too and stuff like that, but they aren't trying to hear it. When your name's attached, like, when it says a film by, you gotta take it good or bad. Your
And we, and
name's
we
on
need and we need to. Here's another big issue, and I feel like people get too attached. Like going back to people being too attached to shit. Like people need to stop celebrity worshiping these people. They're humans like us. They bleed the same blood. They just might have they're probably in a different tax bracket, but we just gotta calm down. Like, Mark Hamill is not a god. Stop acting like he's this dear Jesus, Lord and Savior and stuff. Like, these are normal people with normal lives. Well, not normal lives, but they bleed just like us and stuff. That just needs to stop.
Yeah, it's a combination, like you said, it's a combination of everything. It's the hero worshiping, it's the director who won't take the blame, it's the company that is clearly disorganized. And I mean, when you're talking about switching writing teams and then you see, well, yeah, the writing's going to be uneven because you just got rid of your writing team. I mean, there's so many factors that go into making something that can either be tremendously good or tremendously bad. And the person I feel sorry for, and me and Justin, when we were talking about this last night, the person that I feel sorry for are the
God
people on the
damn,
ground
Tommy.
level.
Jesus. We go ahead. My fault. I just saw something Tommy put in the chat. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, he was like the dogs and the wood chipper.
Yeah. God damn, that's dark.
But yeah, man, this has been great. Like I love having this kind of talk, and I'm glad we're able to do like a little bit of a one-on-one kind of back and forth because it's good to I just got done talking about the safe space thing and not being able to have a good debate, and we
That
might
was a
not
good talk.
agree. Oh yeah, we might not agree on every aspect, but it's cool to see like where you're coming from and be like, yeah, from that angle, I can understand where you're coming from, and I can see uh, why you would did that particular thing. And here's the problem we have, man. You come out and from this whole time I've known you, you've never changed your opinion on Last Jedi, which I respect that. And you
Yeah.
come out and you will debate anyone and you give a point of view of why you feel the way you do about a scene. Now, whether or not I agree with it, that's my personal preference, but you still put the argument out there. And I think that's the key. That's what I didn't want to do like the other channels are doing, right? They're going to have a bunch of people on who are going to agree with everything that you say, and
Yeah,
that's
she
not
gets
fun.
annoying.
Yeah, it's more interesting when you know you have an answer, I have an answer, and we're just
So,
debating it back and forth.
sometimes you gotta see some blood.
Yeah, uh, it's good. I think it's good, and I think that one thing we should take from this, if nothing else, is that people listening or people who will listen, you know, judge it for yourself, and don't go in there with the attitude that you're gonna hate something, and it's not just Star Wars, any movie. Go in
Hmm.
there like I'm gonna give it a shot, and if the movie does something there I don't like, then I'm damn sure going to point it out. But don't if you go in there already pissed off, then you start looking for things, and it might not be the right things to be upset about, you know, because you don't have that objective view anymore. You're looking at it from a place of anger, and that's what
Yep.
I did with Knives Out. And
And
honestly, I'm not
it
gonna
goes
lie. Oh,
it goes
go ahead.
back to it goes back to what we were talking about last night about entitlement and all that shit. And you know, we literally ain't entitled to shit but living and breathing.
It's true, man. It's true. And, you know, fan entitlement is a thing. We can all get. I do it. I do it heavily with DC and Marvel. I know.
Mhm.
I got
Yeah,
my
like
flaws.
I got shit too. Like I be trying to stop doing certain shit. Like but
But I do agree with some things Tommy said. He says, I miss the simplicity of things from the 80s, the movies, books, and damn sure the toys was there was something special and unique about it. Not to say some things aren't great now, but it seems off. And it's true, that's another big thing is the generational gap. I think as we get older, you really do. I don't know about you, but you really do miss certain aspects
Yeah,
of what
definitely,
came before, you know?
definitely. But like, you can't always stay in. Like that's what I said. Like even with making a comparison to like hip hop, you can love like a certain era of music, but at a point in time, you got to move on from that and find some new things. That's how I kind of look at things. Just anything. That's why I'm always looking for the next new story or idea that somebody has because that inspires me. That's how I get my inspirations and stuff. Like, I love all the shit I grew up with, but it's not the be all end all.
Yeah, that's very true. And there's two perspectives. You can look at it and go, yeah, I wish we had that, but at the same time, like I talked about yesterday too, and it's what the SJWs and these weirdos that we hear so loudly do is that they want to try to pull it back to like everyone is censored and everyone follows one idea. And fans, we can do it too. You're like, why can't it be like this? But we've got to keep a more open mind. If we're gonna fight these people off, we can't fall into that same pitfall. We got to be willing to roll with the change and acknowledge when something is done
And,
good.
and that's also why that's why I always like can recommend. I know I'm bringing up anime again, but people complain about certain stories. I'm like, there's tons of stories in animes that people haven't watched or witnessed. Like, there's stuff there for lore whores, like Naruto. One Piece has a shit ton of lore. Like, you'll never you always have something to watch from it. They got like almost 900, like 10,000 episodes, 900 to 1,000 episodes, right? So like,
Hey, Stig, what's up? Yeah, and that's the thing, is that when something, here's the thing that we're seeing, and maybe Hollywood is doing us a favor. With the death of these franchises, there is a thing where these franchises have been around for years, right? And maybe this is going to set up someone to do the next best and greatest thing. Maybe it's going to inspire someone who looked at that franchise and say, you know what? I'm going to make something for this era and I'm going to make it great and I'm going to do this, this, and this, right? There's someone out there with that idea. And my hope is if we see these things go, one, we still got what came before. So it's not like it's completely dead. We still have old stuff that we can go back to and go, yeah, I remember that one, right? But you could inspire the next guy who is like us and say they're a filmmaker and they're like, you know what? I'm going to create something new and I'm going to take it from this idea and what people loved about it and I'm going to improve on it. And that in essence is how all great stuff has started, was someone had an idea, or maybe someone had an idea that was based on another idea, but they tweaked it and they worked with it and they made it their own. And I'm really hoping that, all of these little people who are struggling and they're striving hard, that, they're the ones who are going to be the next people to lead, because there's a lot of independent filmmakers, there's a lot of people that we don't know about that are doing great things, and because they ain't got that shot, they're struggling, you know.
yeah, I feel you.
So I mean, I think that sometimes this could be a good thing. Sometimes when you got Hollywood pulling their purge and they think that they're doing everyone a favor by doing this, this, and this. Well, you got that little guy who's sitting back, creating great stories, and hopefully that's the dude that breaks out. I mean, with horror movies, there was a period where there was nothing good coming out, right? And then I remember Paranormal Activity. So simple. And there's mixed feelings about that. But think about that movie as a whole. Such a simple concept. Literally, I kick myself every time I think about that movie because I'm like, shit, I could have moved stuff around the house and made $1 billion. you know, Simple effects, didn't cost them anything to make, and created, uh, you know, the next wave of horror movies. All it just takes is that one idea out of the box to create something that transcends generations. You know,
Yep.
maybe you make the Purple Saga.
I have ideas.
Uh, maybe Tommy does the next horror movie or a real slasher where he just films himself killing people because he's been pretty dark tonight. Reading some of the comments, I'm like, God damn. But yeah, so
Give me one
we
sec.
could, you know, everybody out there, I've been talking about Star Wars and Episode 9 coming out, and you know, uh, hopefully when you guys go out and you go and see it, let's go and try to see things with a clear perspective. Just view it as a movie, and we'll do our things, and then you know, hopefully Disney will create something better. And Tommy, that is hilarious. I am a big fan of Friday the 13th. I feel like they can't reboot that to save their lives. That new one was terrible.
They could do it. It's possible.
Yeah, man. That uh,
I feel like they could have tied into like hollow like they could have made like a shared universe type of thing. Like I was
yeah,
talking to
'cause-
PB about this. Like imagine watching Halloween and you see them watching the news and like, oh, crazy dude in a hockey mask kills a whole bunch of people, or you see like a news thing where people are dying in their sleeps or some shit.
yeah. I always thought that they played around with that idea, but they never really made it work. Like they had Jason versus Freddy, and you know what? For all the flack that movie caught, I actually liked it. Like,
Yeah, it's fun. It's nothing too serious.
yeah, I thought it was like it was fun. It was dark at points. It was gory. I
Now
mean,
I
there was
gotta
no
ask you
violence.
this. I gotta ask you with this movie coming out. Are you team King Kong or are you team Godzilla?
Ooh, God, that's a tough one. I'm gonna have to say Godzilla because
Nah, man,
when I
King Kong
watched
about to
it,
body him. I was
King,
looking at a YouTuber I watched, J3 Entertainment, and he made a good point. It's like, yo, King Kong's the only monster with like two hands, really like that can actually, like Godzilla's never fought nobody like that. He about to get bodied.
yeah, but Godzilla at the ending of King of the Monsters, man, he had that call, and the monsters kneeling before him. I'm just saying,
Man,
he's got an army, man. He's deep now.
man,
He's rolling with a squad.
but all King Kong needs is these hands. Yeah.
Man, he's a giant monkey. Come on.
They also
He's
I don't know if you checked out the Game Awards tonight, but they showed off what the new Xbox is gonna look like. We could
Yeah, I
talk that
saw that.
we could talk about that off air though, but if you wanna start wrapping things up, I know you wanna go watch the Mandalorian and shit.
Yeah, yeah. So, this has been a great talk, and it's good. It's good when I could get a bunch of people, and it's awesome when we can do these one-on-one things because I feel like we covered a lot. We got really in depth and analyzed Star Wars as a whole, and it's really cool going back and seeing how we felt about perspective and seeing what, actors and actresses and things like that. And I agree with you. If there's one takeaway that hopefully people will get from this stream is that people just go in there. I'm not gonna be another channel go, oh, you know, brace for the dumpster fire and stuff. Nah, go in there and try to be objective. If you're a lifelong Star Wars fan, unfortunately, you're probably gonna have to take this as a separate entity. If you like the movie, then it's more of what you like. And if you're just a moviegoer, just view it as a movie and, pick out your pros and your cons and then think of it as a whole. and then they're gonna bounce back. They're gonna create
Right.
something new.
Just have
We
fun.
got the Mandalorian.
Right.
We
Just
got
have fun
Obi-Wan.
with it. I'm not hyped about that, but I'll watch it. Even though I don't like Obi-Wan at all.
Nah, man, that's my boy. I always got the high ground.
His new name should be Obi Boy Scout.
See, difference of opinions. That's what makes us. That's what makes this world great.
Crazy.
Anyways, man, you know, uh, tell everyone about your channel and uh, your Mandalorian review coming out, because like me, we're all gonna drop them.
Hold on, give me a second. Hello.
Hello.
Oh fuck. Fucking headphones, man. God damn it. I always disconnect whenever I go on Snapchat. Anyways, yeah, man. Perp minded. I'm never know when I'm gonna drop, but I'm gonna drop a few videos this weekend and chill out. Today's payday, so I'm happy.
Nice.
It was a dope conversation, as always. It was just two of us. It's all good. Feel like we covered a lot.
We did. I feel like we made a lot of ground, and I hope people watch this and they see two people on the opposite side actually having that crazy thing called a debate, where we didn't have to call for a point of privilege or worry about each other's feelings.
Right.
So take notes, guys. But yeah, it's always great having you on, man. And this is General Zod. Big things coming. If you guys haven't checked it out, I dropped a 39-second video. You can go back through and look at it and my new uploads. It's promoting my new podcast. My podcast is going to be different, because my podcast, I'm going to do what I don't do on my channel, and I'm going to get into entertainment, but it's going to be the political aspects of it and the psychology. And I read off of articles. I actually write scripts for this. I just finished my first episode entitled "Safe Space and the Death of Debate," and in it I talk about uh, the notion of safe spaces and how they're killing people's ability to have a civil conversation. So I'm not going to tell you everything that's in it, but it's only about a half hour. And if you guys go through, you can view it through Spotify. I've got a link in that video, and later on, I'll probably put a link in the description of this to stream, so you guys can go and check that out. If you do go, and I'm monetized on there, so if you go and you get Spotify and you download my podcast, the ads that pop up, I get revenue from the ads. So yeah, it's more great conversation. It's just me for right now, but I may have some guests on there for different talks, and it's going to be a different kind of feel. We're going to talk about you know the sociology of the culture, and how people in general play a role in shaping entertainment. I want to get into the human aspect of creating, and why I feel like the way the kids are being taught is going to hinder the creative process. So, and of course, I'll have some movie reviews on there, and I might have a couple of these talks on my podcast. So, it's called Zod's. It's called Zod's Podcast, and the channel is General Zod's Fandom Zone, of course. So, go there, check it out, and subscribe. That'd be great. And I
Do
have
or
also got a
do it
couple
or
of
die.
reviews coming.
Do it or die. Support the real.
For real, I definitely, and I like to think Tommy, who's been hanging with us. I'd like to thank Biden. Thank you, Sean. Thanks everyone who popped in for a bit to talk, or to listen to the talk and the chat. You guys were very back and forth, and I appreciate the interaction. And as always, PB's late. No, PB's gonna come in tomorrow morning and be like, "I'm ready to talk Star Wars." But yeah, there probably won't be a late night talks tomorrow because I've got my daughter and I've got double shift and testing on Saturday. So there probably won't be a late night talks tomorrow. I'll post it on Twitter. But we'll be back on Monday with Mando Monday, and I will have an interview on Saturday. Don't know who I'm interviewing yet. And on Sunday, this Sunday, I'm hoping to get on Josiah Rises. So definitely look forward to that. And you guys already know here on the channel, remember the one and only rule: kneel before General Zod.
No.